I didn't lose my dignity all at once. It happened in stages, under fluorescent lights, surrounded by strangers. With my wife laughing so hard she couldn't breathe, while I realized I'd just crossed a point of no return. Pause for effect. This isn't just a story about embarrassment, it's about humiliation, power, and the kind of revenge you don't plan, but absolutely earn. If you've ever had one moment spiral so badly it rewired how you see someone forever, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you. Because trust me, this story only gets worse from here. We were 22. Newly married. Still riding that fragile high where everything feels like a shared joke and every bad decision feels survivable. Money was tight but optimism was free. So when my wife sent me an Instagram ad that said $6 Cece's Pizza, it felt like fate. Not good fate, not classy fate, but the kind of fate that says, "You're broke hungry." And young enough to ignore consequences, we didn't hesitate, we pulled into the parking lot. Already laughing, the building looked tired, like it had given up sometime during the Obama administration. Inside, the air smelled like melted cheese and regret. We asked about the deal. They didn't have it. Any normal person would have left. But sunk cost fallacy is a powerful drug, so we stayed. $20 later. We were sitting there with greasy plates and zero dignity. Was it good? No. Was it food? Technically, we ate like people who knew they were making a mistake but wanted to feel full doing it. Slice after slice, cheese, pepperoni, regret stacking up in layers. My stomach gave a quiet warning. I ignored it. That was mistake number one. Afterward, we wandered into a discount furniture store next door. No plan, no money, just vibes. We sat on couches we'd never buy, judging imaginary living rooms like we were on HGTV. That's when it happened. A fart. Small, controlled, silent. I felt proud. I thought, wow, I still got it. That confidence would cost me everything. On the way home, we stopped for gas at Circle K. God bless Circle K. Fluorescent lights. Sticky floors. A place where dignity goes to die. We were joking around. My wife asked me some random question, one of those playful, meaningless ones. I smirked. I said, "You know what I think about that," and I pushed. It wasn't a fart. There was no sound. No warning. Just warmth. Instant. Unmistakable. Final. My brain short-circuited. My body froze. And in that exact second, I knew my life had split into before and after. I stayed still. Maybe, I whispered, "Why? We're literally 1 minute from home." She was right. Back to the car, she stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. "You're joking." I wasn't, and that's when she laughed. She laughed so hard she couldn't stop, and then karma, swift and merciless, struck again. She peed herself, not a little, not a leak, full, uncontrolled. Pizza-fueled chaos, silence followed, two adults, soaked, defeated, driving home. We didn't speak. The car smelled like shame and mozzarella, and in that silence, something shifted, because embarrassment fades, but humiliation changes how you keep score. And I wasn't done yet. We didn't even look at each other when we got home. The front door closed behind us with that dull thud that felt way louder than it should have. No jokes. No comments. Just two people moving in opposite directions like we'd silently agreed this night never happened. She went straight to the guest bathroom. I went to ours. We shut the doors. Locked them. And for the first time since we got married, we dealt with something alone. Hot water hit my back. I stared at the tile wall like it might answer the question my brain kept looping. How did this happen? It wasn't just the accident. It was the timing, the setting, the way she laughed. Not playful laughter, not oh my god. That's embarrassing, but we're in this together laughter. This was different. This was lose control, cry laughing, tell everyone laughter. And something about that stuck to me. When we finally emerged, dressed in clean clothes, she was still smiling, still amused. Still writing it. I still can't believe you actually. I cut her off. Let's not. She raised her hands. Relax. I'm kidding, but her eyes didn't match her tone. That was the first red flag. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing. Group chat. Her friends. A message from someone I barely knew. Bro, I heard about the gas station. My stomach dropped. She'd told them. All of it. Details. Exaggerations. And judging by the laughing emojis, she'd told it well. That week, it kept happening. Everywhere. At dinner, careful what you eat. Remember CC's at Target. Circle K has bathrooms, you know, at a friend's place. Don't sit too close to him. Laughter, every time. I smiled along, I laughed weakly, but inside, something was changing. Here's the thing no one talks about. Humiliation isn't about the moment. It's about who controls the story afterward. And she owned it. She decided when it was funny, who heard it, how it was told. And I became the punchline. One night, I finally said it. Quietly. No anger. Hey, can you stop bringing it up? It's starting to really get to me. She blinked. Then laughed. Oh my god, you're still sensitive about that. Sensitive. That word landed heavier than the accident ever did. That's when it crossed a line. She started bringing it up around family. Her sister. Her cousins. People who didn't know me well enough to see past it. They only saw the story. The joke. The guy who couldn't even trust his own body. The worst moment came at a small get-together. Someone asked how married life was. Before I could answer, she jumped in. Well, at least now I know what happens when he tries to be funny at a gas station. The room exploded. I felt my face burn. My chest tightened. And in that exact moment, something snapped, not loudly, not dramatically. Just quietly. That night, lying in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, one thought wouldn't leave. She doesn't respect me. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. I wasn't angry yet. Not plotting. Not scheming. But something fundamental shifted. I stopped laughing along. Stopped defending myself. Stopped explaining. Instead, I watched. I listened. And I learned exactly how much she loved being the one holding the microphone. Because when someone enjoys humiliating you, they rarely notice when you stop being the joke and start becoming the narrator. Pause. She gives me the perfect opportunity to let karma do the talking. Revenge doesn't always start with anger. Sometimes it starts with silence. I didn't argue anymore. Didn't correct her stories. Didn't ask her to stop. That's what made her comfortable. Because when someone enjoys humiliating you, they mistake your quiet for surrender. I started paying attention. Not to what she said, but when she said it. She loved an audience. Friends. Family. Anyone who would laugh. The bigger the group, the bigger the story. And most importantly, she needed the reaction. Here's the pattern I noticed. She waited for casual conversation. Someone mentioned food, bathrooms, or travel. She jumped in before I could speak. Laughter followed. She soaked it up like oxygen. It wasn't about the story anymore. It was about power. The opportunity came wrapped as something harmless. A weekend gathering. Friends. Drinks. Pizza. Her idea. It'll be fun, she said. Low-key, I nodded. Smiled. And said yes. Inside, I was already planning. I didn't confront her. I didn't warn her. Instead, I did something she didn't expect. I joined in. Lightly. Casually. At home, I said things like, yeah, guess I can't joke at gas stations anymore. She laughed. Relaxed. Her guard dropped. That was mistake number one. The night before the gathering, she brought it up again. Same story. Same tone. Same laugh. I didn't flinch. Didn't interrupt. Didn't defend myself. She glanced at me, surprised. You're being weirdly cool about it, I shrugged. It happened. What can I do? She smiled. That smile told me everything. I didn't need lies. Didn't need exaggeration. All I needed was timing. Because the best revenge is letting someone tell their own story, all the way to the part that exposes them. The gathering was already loud when we arrived, music, laughter, drinks flowing, perfect conditions. She slipped into social mode immediately. Jokes, stories. I stayed quiet, observing, waiting. Someone asked how we met, another asked about married life. I felt it coming. She smiled, inhaled. Anne launched, okay, so you have to hear what he did at Circle K. The room leaned in. This was her moment. She thought I was unarmed. Halfway through her story, I spoke. Calmly. Softly. Hey, can I add something real quick? The room paused. She blinked. Confused. But she nodded. She always liked being fair. That was mistake number two. I didn't defend myself. I didn't deny it. I just finished the story. Yeah. That happened. But what people don't hear is how that became the joke she tells every chance she gets. How it stopped being funny to me, but never stopped being funny to her. Silence. You could feel it. The laughter didn't come. She laughed nervously. Oh my God, don't be dramatic, but the room wasn't laughing anymore. I shifted. Someone cleared their throat. And for the first time since Circle K, she wasn't holding the microphone. I wasn't done. Not even close. Because once people see the truth, they start asking questions. They ask her all of them. You ever notice how silence can be louder than laughter? That's what filled the room. No one jumped in to save her joke. No one laughed it off. No one changed the subject. They were all waiting. Waiting to see what she would do next. She smiled again, but this one was different. Tight. Forced. Wow, okay, didn't know we were doing therapy hour. A few people chuckled. But it wasn't the same. It was polite laughter, sympathy laughter, not power. One of her friends tilted their head. Wait, you bring that up a lot. She scoffed. No, I mean just sometimes, it's funny. Another voice chimed in. He just said it stopped being funny for him though. Her smile froze. That was the moment, the exact second she realized she wasn't controlling this anymore. She turned toward me. So now you're making me the bad guy. I kept my voice calm. Steady. Double quotes. No. I'm just telling the whole story. You've been telling your half for weeks. That landed harder than anything I could have yelled. People started looking at her differently. Not angry. Not hostile. Just aware. Someone said quietly, I mean, if he asked you to stop. Another added, yeah, that's kind of rough. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Nothing came out. That's the thing. I didn't insult her. Didn't exaggerate. Didn't attack. I just let the pattern show itself. And once people see a pattern, they can't unsee it. She laughed again, too loud. Oh my God, everyone relax. It was one joke. I met her eyes. It wasn't one. It was every time we were around people, her voice dropped. Why are you doing this to me? And there it was, the switch from mockery to victimhood. Someone else spoke up unexpected. I mean, if my partner was embarrassed and I kept telling the story, I'd feel awful. That wasn't me. That was karma, delivered politely. Her eyes watered. She looked around, searching for allies. They weren't there. Not because they hated her, but because the truth had sucked all the humor out of the room. She grabbed her phone. Stood up. I need air, and walked out. No one followed her. That part surprised me. Instead, someone leaned toward me and whispered, I didn't realize it was like that. Another said, you handled that really well. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt calm. Like a weight had lifted. When she came back, the party was different, muted. She didn't joke anymore. Didn't talk much. Eventually, she pulled me aside. Her voice was low. You embarrass me, I nodded. Now you know how it feels. She didn't respond. On the drive home, she was quiet. No laughter. No commentary. Just the sound of the road. And for the first time since Circle K, she wasn't smiling. I didn't win that night. Not really, but something important changed. Because once someone realizes the joke can turn, they think twice before telling it again. We talk about what happened after the laughter died. The car ride home felt longer than it actually was. No music. No jokes. No passive-aggressive comments. Just headlights passing by, and two people sitting with thoughts they couldn't outrun. She stared out the window. I kept my eyes on the road. Neither of us reached for the other. Halfway home, she finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. I didn't know it hurt you that much. I didn't answer right away. Because that sentence, it wasn't an apology, it was a realization. And sometimes that comes first. At home, we sat at the kitchen table. Same place we'd laughed about dumb stuff 100 times before. But this time, it felt different. I told her everything, not angrily, not dramatically, just honestly. How every joke chipped away. How every laugh made me smaller. How I started feeling like I had to brace myself in public. She listened. Actually listened. She cried. Not performative crying. Quiet, embarrassed tears. She admitted something I didn't expect. I liked being the funny one. I liked people laughing. I didn't think about what it cost you. That didn't erase what happened. But it explained it. I told her one thing clearly. I'll forgive you. But I won't be the joke again. No threats. No ultimatums. Just a boundary. And boundaries, I learned, are a kind of power. The next few weeks were different. Not perfect. But different. She stopped telling the story. When someone brought it up, she shut it down herself. Once, she even said, yeah, that wasn't funny. I went too far. I noticed something else too. She watched her words more. Listened more. Respected silence. Here's the truth, the revenge wasn't embarrassing her. It wasn't flipping the joke. It was forcing awareness. Letting her feel just once what it's like when laughter turns on you. And then choosing not to keep going. Humiliation doesn't need shouting. It doesn't need cruelty. Sometimes all it needs is the truth, told calmly in front of the right people. Do I regret it? No. Because respect returned to our relationship that night, not because I demanded it, but because I stopped accepting less. If you're listening to this and thinking, I've been the joke. Or worse, I've been the one telling it, here's the lesson. If someone tells you something hurts them, and you keep doing it, that's not humor, that's power, and power always comes due. If this story gave you that quiet rush of justice, hit like, subscribe for more real, emotional revenge stories, and tell me in the comments, what's the line someone crossed that you never forgot? Click the next video on screen for another story where karma shows up right on time. Sometimes the cleanest revenge is making sure it never happens again.